Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Football Closing Time Show. Ian Cameron and Conor Mack with you on this Saturday. We don't have many college football Saturday shows left. A reminder to everybody tuning in, thanks for joining us, by the way, that this show will become college basketball in 2 weeks. The first Saturday of January, it'll be all college basketball. So we're almost ready to make that transition. We'll be doing college football this Saturday and next Saturday. Next Saturday will be a bowl type of preview show. We'll preview all the bowl games that are taking place throughout the week. And then in 2 weeks, it'll be college basketball. Although we'll make sure we also preview and break down the national championship game in college football when it is ready to go in January. But looking forward to it. I'm still trying to shake the cobwebs out from seeing Ball State and Buffalo stay under the total after 56 points in the first half last night. I mean, that second half, that's, hard to fathom what I saw last night. You saw pooch punts from the quarterbacks on 4th and 2 inside opponent territory that prevented points from being scored. You saw a blocked field goal. You saw a decision not to kick a field goal in a clear situation where you should kick a field goal, down 10 in the fourth quarter, inside the 20, go for it. Oh, and then on the play they go for it on 4th down inside the 20, receiver drops a clear touchdown. It would have been a touchdown, would have been a walk-in, and it's just that it was a perfect storm. Everything had to go right for that game to stay under the total. Everything had to go wrong for it to not go over the total, and that's exactly what happened. And that was a frustrating one. It's really, really frustrating. But nevertheless, turn the page. It's all you can do. C-Mac, how are you on this conference championship Saturday? I'll tell you what, as disappointed as I was with that result, I'm looking forward to this card today.
I'm looking forward too. I'm a little under weather. Last night kind of sucked. At least I got the under in the Oregon SC game to salvage it. But you were right. You know what? I got to give a lot to not only to UAB in that game, but Ball State. I mean, yeah, it was lucky, but to only give up 7 points, I think they just gave up that long touchdown run. I think that was pretty good defense. It was just kind of shocking how it all shut down. And they had that massive explosion in the second quarter, 28 points, Ball State. And Buffalo played better defense in the second half. Just kind of, not great defense, but yeah, all those, you already talked about some of those freak things. They didn't going for it and pooch punts and to drop touchdowns. But yeah, that was, wow, 66 right there. You'd be lucky if you got that early in the week and got a push. You would have had to got that right away, like on a Monday. So yeah, exactly. So let's get to the card.
Absolutely. The thing that stands out from yesterday is that the conference championship games, not only 3-0 against the spread for the underdogs, but 3-0 straight up, each of them winning outright. UAB over Marshall, Oregon over USC, and of course the big one being Ball State over Buffalo. So underdogs reigned supreme yesterday in conference title games. Will that trend continue today? We'll find out.
That makes me mad, though.
Yeah. I'm going to do the schedule a little bit differently today.
Okay.
We're going to get these crap games out of the way first. Well, I shouldn't say crap games, but the regular season games. We're going to do them first. Save all the conference championship games, save the best for last. So we'll keep the conference championship games till the end. So let's start with the early regular season game, the first kickoff of the regular season board, I guess you could say. Texas A&M versus Tennessee at noon Eastern time. We've got Texas A&M 13.5-point road favorites, 51 the total. This comes down to just, first of all, can Tennessee play a clean game? And that's been an issue. Quarterback play has been spotty. Defense has struggled. Are they motivated? I think they might be. If they are, they might hang around in this number. A&M's obviously the superior team. We've talked about how Kellen Mond, a quarterback, both of us, Conor and I, have not had our fondest like for because of his inconsistency, his erratic play. But he had a really good season this year. The defense very solid. And that's the concern, too, is can Tennessee's offense, even at home here, move the ball against this A&M defense? It's a big question mark in my mind with just how much problems they've had with their quarterback production throughout the course of the season. But I know A&M well enough to know, and I know they slipped out of Auburn with the cover, but barely. I mean, if you had A&M, you barely got out of there with the cover. To me, it's a situation where I would be very, very hesitant to lay this many with A&M. But Tennessee's been a one-way team for me all season, bet against or pass. I know they crushed Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's lost players left and right. Vanderbilt's not very good. So it's conflicting arguments for me in a game I'm passing on. Anything for you, CMAC, with A&M and Tennessee?
No, you were nailing it. We are talking about Munn, but it's a little contrasting here. A&M needs a big win and would like a big blowout win. With the Notre Dame, they could slip in as the last team in the playoff. Tennessee played better against Vandy, but they've been so bad all year. They can't move the ball. Their defense is just okay for the SEC, middle of the road. It's a tough one, and it's dropped to 13.5. I just couldn't take Texas A&M. Basically either side now that it's 13.5. I would have wanted Tennessee if it was over 2 touchdowns, and at 13.5, I see basically across the board. Yeah, I'd want A&M, but I don't like A&M laying points. They just, like you said, they barely got by Auburn. They're just not a team that, is great, prolific, that scores big. So, I mean, Tennessee could play big here. They got nothing to lose. We talked about an underdogs last night. This could be a spot where they could get a cover. A&M wins it, but, at 2 touchdowns. The value's lost a little bit under 14, but not too much. So, I'm passing all the way around. It should be a good one. Just no value I see in either way, really. What about you?
I agree. Yeah. I mean, A&M, and we're going to talk about Cincinnati too when we get to the AAC championship game. Teams that really could benefit from running it up, but are they going to be in a position to run it up against either Tennessee or Tulsa in the case of Cincinnati? So that's going to be what remains to be seen. We've got Washington State and Utah, Pac-12 action, a real early game for the Pac-12, 1:30 Eastern time. We've got Utah, 10.5-point home favorites, 54.5 the total in this game, 55 in some spots. I went ahead and laid it with Utah here. Utah's in I think their best football of the season. They're playing it right now. You look at the way they've played, a good game against Washington, really, an undefeated Colorado team that was hoping to get into the Pac-12 championship. And the reason why USC didn't play Colorado is because Utah beat them last week in the Snow Bowl. That was a fun game to watch, Utah and Colorado. A lot of snow in Boulder. And Utah defensively has gotten better each week. And how about Jake Bentley? By far the best game he's had this season last week for the Utes in that victory. They're feeling good. They're obviously a team that struggled early, but Kyle Whittingham has done a great job with the program. He's got a pretty good, solid team most years. And it's when you're a well-coached team, you would expect the team to get better as the season progresses. And I think we're seeing that right now, CMAC, with this Utah team. For Washington State, too many starts and stops in their season. They've had games canceled, postponed. They've been in and out of practice routines. They've been off 1 week, playing the next week, off 2 weeks, playing, off 3 weeks. That's been the kind of season it's been for Washington State. And they haven't been able to get in any rhythm. They haven't been able to practice fully. And we saw the results in their last game against USC. They looked like they were totally inept and just not at all ready to play a game against a solid football team. They were just destroyed in the first half. They battled in the second half, but it was too little too late to come back in that game against USC. And I worry about the freshman QB, Jaden DeLora, because he's not played as well in recent weeks. He's going on the road against a defense that's playing better each week. I don't know if they're going to have a boatload of offensive success here. So 10.5, I think it's plausible Utah could win this game by a couple of touchdowns. So not my strongest bet, but I did take Utah here, minus 10.5. What's your take, CMAC, with the Cougars and the Utes?
This wasn't one of my strongest ones, but I got to go with Utah. I think they're playing their best football right now. Washington State just has not been good, lately. You brought up all the start and stop, Leach, and it's at Utah, so that's a big key too. The only thing I'm worried about here is maybe a backdoor, late. But I'm with you. I don't think the number's too crazy here. Utah's looked really good the last few weeks after kind of a rough start. Bentley hasn't been great, and he's not going to be great, So as long as he plays good, no turnovers, I'm with you here with Utah. I'm a little cautious, and it wasn't my favorite play out there. This could be a sneaky one, but the Cougs haven't showed really anything. I was impressed with that first week. We talked about they played against Oregon at Oregon State. That was kind of like their best complete game
Yep.
that I saw. After that, nothing much. So I know it's over 10, but this is one where I like the favorite and I lay the 10.5.
This is a big one, folks. This is nobody's really talking about it, but it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's a lot on the line. It's the Commander-in-Chief trophy on the line. It's the battle for it. It's Air Force and Army, the two best service academy teams by far this year. Obviously, Navy, not a terrible season for them, but good seasons for these two teams. Air Force and Army. Air Force 2.5-point road favorites, 37.5 the total. And I do think Air Force warrants being chalk here in this game for two reasons. One, I think they're a little bit better team than Army this year. Give credit to Jeff Monken. He's done a great job coaching this program. And Army with a huge win against Navy last week. But I think Air Force has more speed on the team. I think their offense is a little bit more prolific and dynamic and explosive than Army's. And the defenses are on par, but even Air Force, slightly better statistics with their D against a slightly tougher schedule as well than Army. And the second thing is look, these are military kids. I get it. They're usually programmed and wired differently where they don't fall into letdown spots and, emotional hangovers. But man alive, this has emotional hangover written all over it. They are human beings still. They're not robots. They're not machines. They're not computers. To come back after that emotional, gut it out. That's almost their Super Bowl every year when they play Navy. And it's always a tough game, no matter how bad Navy might have been this season. And it was a tough game, gutted out game for Army. And now in less than a week, you got to get ready, re-energize yourself, recharge your batteries for a very good Air Force team. Difficult spot, in my opinion, for Army. They're not supposed to be falling prone to these kind of spots when you're a military kid in the service academy, but I worry about this for Army a little bit here in this game against Air Force. So I'm on Air Force here, and already Mike Campbell in the chat saying under. Yes, I mean, you can't bet it over. You can only look under. Under 6 straight times is cashed in this series between Air Force and Army. And the under is also cashed now 15 straight times in the Army-Navy series after last week's game. So that's a combined 21. That's a combined 21-0 to the under when it's either Air Force versus Army or Navy versus Army. It is what it is. I mean, you got two teams that are run heavy, churn the clock, long time of possession drives, not a lot of possessions. And, that makes it difficult to get over the total. So I'm with you. I would look under, and I like Air Force here to get the win. As long as it stays to -3 or less, I like Air Force here. What do you think, C-Mac, Air Force, Army?
I think I'm with you. Air Force has kind of not played a lot this year. They've stopped and started a little bit, but they look good. The last two, New Mexico and Utah State, just looking it up. Early in the year, they whipped, Navy pretty well, but that was way back in October 3rd. I think the line's right where it's at. I think Air Force is just a point or two. I think a very close game. Army's been very good this year, and like you said, just roll under. And it's low again, 38 here. Is that what we have? 38.5. I'd go with the
38.
under.
Yep.
Yeah, 38. I'd still go under. I mean, like you said, it just goes. I mean, there's a small chance they score here and it's like goes slightly over, but I would roll the dice in a game like this. I think Army's really good this year. I mean, better defensively. Obviously, Navy was kind of a step down. And Navy, hey, they were at the goal line and fumbled. They at least, I think, would have covered that game 12. It would have probably been 12-7 or something. But I lean a little bit Air Force, and I like the under here, under 38.
Yeah, I'm with you. Air Force and under for me in this one. I actually have bet both of those. We've got Ole Miss and LSU now as we move to the SEC. Ole Miss, 1.5-point road favorites. They've stood as the road chalk in this game, 74.5 the total, despite the fact a couple of their receivers opted out this week, which is kind of interesting for this Ole Miss team. But yet, here they are. They've stood pat as the favorite. And you know why that is? Tells you all you need to know about the spot for LSU. They're coming off the win of their season. They put a huge dent and a huge potential dagger, but definitely at the very least a huge dent in Florida and their playoff hopes with that huge upset win against the Gators in Gainesville last week. Now you come back. I know it is your home finale, but it's not a team loaded with seniors. on this senior day game. So I don't know if that's a huge momentous thing. And it's still not like LSU has a good defense. And Ole Miss with their offense and Matt Corral, even with the two receivers opting out, should have success here. I just don't trust LSU enough here. Even with, I'm not going to take Ole Miss either, but I don't trust LSU off the win last week. I don't, for a team that has still got major warts on the defensive side of the football going into this game here. So it's a pass for me. I'd like to bet it over. My Mike's hinting at that, but not at this number. It's just way too high. I can't do it at 7. It was 77, I believe, earlier in the week. It has come down a bit to 75, but still a bit too high for my liking. I mean, I wouldn't want under, but it's just too high for me to take the over. What do you think, C-Mac, with Ole Miss LSU?
I'm on LSU here. I know the spot's a little flat, but I like it that they're basically even money here. They're not favorite by like 3 or something. I like that. Ole Miss, those are their top two receivers. I forget that, they were like almost 2,000 yards combined between the both of them. Something
you got to
crazy.
find a way to fill that production. Exactly right. Yep.
You got to find that way to fill that. And here we go. So their last weeks, of course, they beat Arkansas 27-24. They lost to A&M 27. Of course, they got blown out to Alabama 55-17, and they beat Florida. I think they're on just a trend upward. It is, like you talked about, maybe a flat spot, but they're not laying points. So I'm on LSU here today, and it's 75. I think it gets there, but there's no way. I don't want to cross my fingers and hope it goes over. You know what I mean? At that high of a number, but I'm on LSU here.
Yeah, I absolutely know what you mean because I didn't bet the over for those very, very same reasons. Exactly right.
Yeah.
We've got Missouri now and Mississippi State. We've got around Pick'em here, slightly Missouri a road favorite here at around -149 the total. Missouri, if I had to bet it, I'd look Missouri. I mean, Mississippi State's just, they had a little glimmer of resurgence there with Rodgers at quarterback for a bit, but it didn't last very long. Missouri, to me, is probably the better of these two teams, but going on the road for a finale, how locked in are they? They've had some inconsistent results as well this year, the Missouri Tigers. I do like Bazelak, though, and the offense, I think, has gotten better as the season's progressed under Eli Drinkwitz. Obviously, they got absolutely just destroyed by Georgia, but Mississippi State ain't Georgia. I still think Missouri's the better of these teams. I definitely lean Mizzou, but I passed on the game. C-Mac, how about you? Missouri, Mississippi State.
Yeah, this was like the easiest one for me to kind of look at. I just don't love the spot. I'm with you a little bit. I think Missouri's a little bit better, but laying a point, maybe 2 here. Just don't love it. It's just not one of my favorite games. I think they're a little bit of the better team. They just got whipped though, Missouri. So it was a pass all the way around here.
Minnesota, Wisconsin. Pick your poison. Wisconsin, 12-point home favorites, 47 the total. I mean, the season's gone south for Wisconsin. We know that clearly. It's been a rough go of it for them the last few weeks. We've seen what's happened to them. The losses mounting, lost to Northwestern, the loss last week against Iowa. And now they're a team that's just all of a sudden treading water in the Big Ten. This is definitely a candidate, I think, Wisconsin, where if they're in a bowl game, they may turn it down. We're seeing teams left and right do that because Wisconsin doesn't want to play in a minor bowl game. Hell, Wisconsin's used to playing in New Year's Six games, Rose Bowls, big bowl games. They're basically relegated now to a mid-tier bowl game with the season they've had and the losses mounting the way they had to the likes of Wisconsin and Iowa. So, where do things go for Wisconsin? Amazing how everyone's singing the praises of Graham Mertz for destroying Michigan and Illinois. And now we've seen Michigan and Illinois have miserable seasons. How Lovie Smith's been fired. Oh, and they replaced him with Brett Bielema. Way to make your program further your program and make it progress. Let's go back to the retread coaches garbage bin, and let's bring Brett Bielema in here at Illinois. That'll get things turned around. Unbelievably bad hire. I mean, you can't script this shit. No wonder some programs are stuck in football purgatory when you make ridiculous hires like this. Let's go back to the recycled coach bin. Pick out some random recycled dinosaur coach who's likely going to flop, just like Lovie Smith did. Just awful. Why don't you hire someone that's got a little ingenuity, a little creativity, a young player to connect with the players on the team, a younger guy to connect with the players on the team, a little maybe an offensive innovator? No, Illinois, same old bad hires. I mean, what else is new from that program? But nevertheless, getting back to Wisconsin here, I can't lay 12. I don't know where their heads are at. I would lean Minnesota, and Minnesota's not really a trustworthy team because they had over 20 players missing with COVID-19 last year, but somehow, some way, they still patched together a roster that went on the field and beat Nebraska as underdogs last week, and one of the most stunning results you'll ever see. And, the team is battling. I think from an effort standpoint, I trust the effort right now of Minnesota more than I trust the potential lack of effort for Wisconsin in this game. So I do have a lean to Minnesota, but they're still very, very shorthanded. And personnel-wise, that's more than likely to show up against Wisconsin than it is last week against a very, very mediocre at best Nebraska team. Nevertheless, I would still take the Gophers plus the points if I had to make a bet on this game. But I don't, and I didn't. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, I'm with you. I have a small bet on Minnesota here. I think it's just too many. I think this Wisconsin shouldn't be favored by 12.5. They're just not right now. And how much are they want to be in this game? I mean, maybe they want to win this game. Like you said, I don't even think they want to play a bowl game. They're like some of these teams, just get out, season's done. You know what I mean? COVID and everything. Bateman's out, but I think there's a little fight here in Minnesota. I think they keep this close. And they're healthier from last week who had all those players out, and I had them. So I like them again this week. If this was under 10 or maybe something like that, 8, I might not love it, but it's almost 2 touchdowns. I'm going to roll it here with Minnesota again this week.
All right. I definitely, for me, it would be Minnesota or nothing in this game. No question about that. All right. Moving on now down the card, we've got Illinois and Penn State, another Big Ten game here. We've got Penn State 15.5-point home favorites, 53 the total. I do have to give Penn State some credit. We have seen this team. I thought they would pack it in after the miserable 0-5 start they had, but they're starting to put it together. They haven't quit on the season, or James Franklin, which actually might lull Penn State into a false sense of security to bring them back next year. I actually think that this little run that Penn State's put together might actually save James Franklin for another season here as head coach of this Nittany Lions team. But I'll give them credit. They're battling here, and they're actually starting to cover some numbers. And they are just so much better than Illinois at this stage of the season. And Illinois, of course, now with the coaching change, players are probably already thinking toward next year. I don't know what we get from Illinois, and I certainly don't trust them here. And if Penn State is anything like they've been the last few weeks, where we have seen this team play better football, be focused on the field, they could probably get themselves a victory of 3 touchdowns, maybe even more than that in this game. So I would lean a little to the favorite, but just not in love with laying this many. But Illinois is a little bit of it's a situation where you just don't know how locked in and tuned up these players are with coaching changes, with just the season falling apart. I wouldn't want Illinois. Penn State or nothing for me. What do you think, Conor? Penn State, Illinois?
Yeah, it'd be Penn State, and definitely I don't want them at 15.5 or 16. I know they've been playing better. They could cover. It's just a big number. But Illinois is in shambles, like you said. There's no way you'd want to, If there'd be a shot, I mean, that's a lot of points, but Illinois looked pretty bad last week. They couldn't move the ball against Northwestern. And Penn State's playing a bit better. I don't think they've been that much better, but they've won these games decently. The defense looks a little better the last few weeks against Michigan, Rutgers. They've looked okay those last few weeks. So, yeah, kind of a pass. I had nothing on this one. And the total, nothing there either. It's 52. Who knows? Could go under, maybe over. I'd lean under a little bit the way they've been playing. Right now, I don't know if Illinois will get much. So it was a pass all the way around.
All right, yeah. I would lean under as well. I mean, I just don't know how much offense you're going to get out of Illinois. And Penn State's been one of those teams that's been a little bit more methodical. They exploded last week against Michigan State, but remember, they were trailing in that game. They had to open up. Penn State's pretty damn good at sitting on a lead, too, if they have one in the second half. And that's why you may want to look in-game under if Penn State's got a lead, particularly a big lead at halftime, because you might just see them sit on it. Stanford and UCLA, we head to the Pac-12. UCLA, was actually down to 6.5 now from 7-point home favorites, 59.5 the total. I really like, this is one of my favorite bets. It's actually probably my favorite bet on the non-conference title card. I like Stanford plus the points. I think this is a very live underdog. They're playing their best football of the season right now. Davis Mills, his final game. Stanford's already decided they're not playing in a bowl game. So this is their final game. And for Davis Mills, a quarterback that's really playing well right now. We've seen them win 3 straight, cover 3 straight against Cal. Washington, a very good win there, and in Oregon State. I know UCLA is definitely a step up from those 3 teams, but there's a lot of question marks with UCLA. They had a gut-wrenching, brutal loss to USC, rivalry game last week. How does Chip Kelly fire up the team for this game? Finale against Stanford, I'm not sure. When they were that close, they should have beat USC. They were leading big, and USC pulled one of their trademark comebacks that they almost pulled off last night, too, against Oregon. And they did it last week against UCLA. UCLA was apparently extremely downtrodden after that loss, and their post-game quotes were very like in that hangover type state. And if they're hungover today, Stanford's very live to not only be in this game start to finish down to the wire, but they could actually pull the outright upset, in my opinion, if UCLA isn't focused for this game. Stanford's offense should work because UCLA's defense got a little bit exposed last week, and Stanford's offense has been getting better each week. I like the over as well, smaller bet there, but I really like Stanford here, plus the points, one of my favorite sides of the card today. C-Mac, what do you think here, Stanford, UCLA?
This was one of my favorite ones, too. I got a few days ago, a 7.5. I like the way Stanford's been playing. And nothing against UCLA. They've been playing well, too. And that you always want to be city champs, beat SC. They couldn't get done, and they had the lead the whole time. And I stayed off that game. That's why I'm a little bummed. I had the under last night, but on the show, I had SC -3. It was kind of right away that Washington game was out and Oregon was in. And I laid off SC all year because I thought they were frauds, and Helton in big games is not a guy I want to have, bet on. And they gave it up late, which was kind of a bummer. They played a good game because I was almost pulled the trigger with UCLA +3.5, and they didn't cover there. But I like Stanford. I like the way they're playing. And if you got it, it's down to 6.5. I'd be a little cautious. I think they have a chance of winning it outright a little bit. But I definitely want the 7 and the hook if you get it. But now it's looking all 6.5. So there's some late money here this morning on Stanford. But I'm with you. I'm with Stanford. I like it.
Yeah, by the way, UCLA, they did beat Stanford last year, but since 2009, 2-10 ATS head-to-head against Stanford. So this has been a really, really rough series for the Bruins. And I think with a lot of those players that were on Stanford last year, it was a miserable year for them. They wouldn't mind avenging that loss to UCLA this year. And I think they're a much better team, Stanford, at least right now in their current form. At the beginning of the year, they were looking just as bad as last year's team. But you got to separate and break the season in half, because the second half of this season, Stanford's looked like a much different, much better football team. And I think they can compete here in this game. All right, here is the final game of the regular season slate taking place today. Arizona State, Oregon State. Arizona State 7-point road favorites, 54 the total in this game. Arizona State just absolutely embarrassed their rivals Arizona last week. Probably got and did get Kevin Sumlin fired in the process. It was just an ugly win, or ugly loss for Arizona, I should say. 70-7 Arizona State, absolutely humiliating this Arizona team. +7 in turnovers, Arizona State. So they just feasted on an Arizona team that just made so many mistakes. This Oregon State team, though, I'll tell you what, all 4 of their losses this year by 10 points or less, they're 4-1 ATS their last 5 games. The only one they haven't covered was 27-24 loss to Stanford last week. I think Arizona State is definitely better than Oregon, especially on defense. They're a much better defensive team, but Oregon State's just been plucky, feisty, and just been battling and competing and found ways to stay in games. I don't want to lay this many with Arizona State, even though I think they are the better team. I think they win the game. That's the problem. But I just can't lay 7 because Oregon State, all they've done is hang around. Even with Tristan Gebbia was banged up a little bit as well. And yet Jamar Jefferson, the running back, is out. See, that's the concern too. With all due respect to Oregon State and all the competitive games they've had, this is one of the best defenses they've faced so far. Are they going to be able to step up to the plate offensively against ASU? That remains to be seen. But nevertheless, I mean, at 7 or better, I would still lean Beavers, to be honest with you, just because they've found ways. Just hang in there in pretty much every game they've played. What do you think, CMAC, ASU and Oregon State?
Jeez, you're right. This one's got me. We got time to think about it. This one's a late one, right? Because this was the last one that really made me looking. Because we've been on the Beavers the last few weeks here. After the Cougars lost, Washington close, beat Cal, beat Oregon, the big one, had the over and money line. Lost by 6 to Utah. They're down a little bit, and then Stanford lost by 3. It is concerning, with the running back out. And I know Arizona State looked real good, but I don't want to get too much recency into that. Arizona kind of just quit, that game late, and it was just a big blowout. This one's got me thinking a lot. I like the Beavers, it's kind of dropped. I see some 7s. If you have 7.5, that's where I wanted it. I lean with him. I don't know if I'm pulling the trigger, especially now that it's dropped. I still see a few 7.5s, but mostly 7s all across the board. I'd go with Oregon State. I think they're scrappy. There's just something about them, and they're at home. And I like Herm Edwards in Arizona State, but it's just a weird spot. Just a tough one. I might play this later tonight, see how everything goes, because this one really had me thinking a lot the last few days looking at this.
Yeah, and betting 101 and point spread value 101 says the best time to bet on a team in terms of a bargain point spread is not usually the week after they win 70-7. That's also something you have to factor in, that maybe Arizona State's power rating has been bumped up just a little bit too. Let's be honest. They were good. They were really good. But Arizona was inept. Arizona has no more toes left on their feet to shoot after that game.
Yeah.
Shot themselves in the foot like 10 times in that game. They were just inept. They were terrible. So you have to factor that into the equation. And that's usually what happens. It's not all the team that won 70-7 being great. It's the team that lost 70-7 being equally lousy. And I think that's exactly what we saw last week. All right. Here's the part of the show that we all waited for. The conference championship games. That's where we're at now for the rest of the game breakdowns. Let's start in the Big Ten. Northwestern, Ohio State. We've got Ohio State 16.5-point neutral field favorites in Lucas Oil Stadium, 56.5 the total. Key cogs on both sides of the football announced out, and we heard rumblings of this last night that there's still a mini little COVID-19 situation going on with Ohio State. They've got a starting linebacker out, one of their second starting safety members out. One of their best receivers, maybe their best receiver, Chris Olave, not playing in this game today. And you're seeing the betting markets react. Now, I don't know if they're overreacting, but they're definitely reacting at 16.5. Let's not forget, Northwestern was getting close to that 20.5, 21 mark early in the week when it opened. And now we're seeing Northwestern down. And I'm glad I bet Northwestern when I did, because I am on that side at plus 20. I figured I'm not going to get 21. I'm going to have to bet it now at 20. Now I feel really good because I've got an advantageous number now compared to what's out there right now is 16.5. And I was going to be on Northwestern regardless of this whole little late-breaking absence situation for Ohio State, and for a number of reasons. I don't believe in Ohio State's defense fully. I think you can make plays on them. They're not that same defense this year. We've seen teams move the ball against them effectively. Hell, Rutgers got into the mid-20s against Ohio State. Penn State moved the ball. Indiana had a lot of success moving the ball against them. I think Peyton Ramsey, he is a game manager quarterback. He's experienced. And if you look back to Indiana-Ohio State games in years past when Ramsey played there, some of his best games were against Ohio State. They actually gave Ohio State trouble with Ramsey at the quarterback spot. They can run the football a little bit. Stay balanced. You know it's going to be slow pace, churn that clock, keep this high-powered Justin Fields Ohio State offense off the field. I think they can, and I think Pat Fitzgerald's the right coach to put his team in a situation for the best possible success, because I think he's one of the great coaches in the country with what he's done with Northwestern, because they don't recruit all that great. And every year this team is, a upper echelon Big Ten team, and they've been in the Big Ten title game now multiple times. I know we've seen in years past Ohio State's speed, athleticism, and offense just run Northwestern out, but I don't think those this Ohio State team's quite as good as those Cardale Jones teams, JT Barrett teams that we saw a few years ago. I just don't. I don't think they're quite as good, especially on defense this year. And when you start to look at Ohio State, obviously offensively, even without Olave, they're potent. Northwestern ain't shutting them down completely. They're going to score some, but can they score enough to cover a number like this? Let's not forget the two best teams by far Ohio State has played this season, Indiana and Penn State. What were the margins in those two games of victory? Less than 2 touchdowns, both of them. They didn't win either of those games by more than 2 touchdowns. If they don't win this game by more than 2 touchdowns, what does that mean? It means Northwestern cashes a ticket, and that's what I expect here. So I'm on Northwestern plus the points. And again, Ohio State's not in one of those spots like an A&M or a Cincinnati where they've got to run up the score. If they just win the game as an undefeated team, regardless of margin, they should be in the playoff. Simple as that. So margin shouldn't be of consequence here for Ohio State. I think Northwestern, just a few too many points for my liking here on this Buckeyes team. What do you think, C-Mac? Ohio State, Northwestern, Big Ten title game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got it earlier in the week with Northwestern, 21, and 20. Did a little double bet there during show Monday, and then later on. I like them a lot. I'm a little now that this has dropped to 56. Maybe the over, because I didn't think about that much at all. Because I think Ohio State will get theirs, and I think enough of Ramsey. He started enough, like you talked about. He's played these guys. I think he can throw it on them for sure. Where they could, they're going to score. I think at least 3 touchdowns, 21 or more. That it's down to 56 is pretty live. I might throw an over here at last minute, right before we got 20 minutes left, because that's dropped, from 60 all the way down to 56. I'd maybe lean over here, that's fallen. So,
yeah, you know what it's getting. I would like 55 on.
Yes.
If it gets that low, and it might, I don't know if it will. It gets, because 55 is a key number. You've got 28-27 is a common final score, 31-24. Common final score, 55. That's such a common final score. If it gets 55, I think then it's an overreaction. Because I do think if you bet this early, the under made a little sense, because I think Northwestern's really going to slow it down. They are going to beat that play clock that they have to. I mean, they've got to do everything in their power to keep Ohio State's offense off the field for as long as possible. The question is, though, Ohio State does have that quick strike ability, and because they can score from anywhere on the field very quickly. That even if this gets to 56 or below, I think even I might just bite a little piece of the over in this game. But we'll have to wait and see where that closes at kickoff. Oklahoma, Iowa State, Big 12 championship game. This is the other title game kicking off in just about 20 minutes. Oklahoma, 5.5-point favorite, 60 the total. I'm a Matt Campbell believer. Iowa State as a dog has just been so good to me over the years. I get Oklahoma's playing their best football. Spencer Rattler's played better. Hell, the defense has played good. But look at the opponents: Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma State without Spencer Sanders that day when they walloped the Cowboys. Some questionable opponents there. I know they're in revenge. And they've certainly got way more title game experience in this Big 12 title game than Iowa State. Iowa State's doing this for the first time. I get that. But to me, Iowa State, Brock Purdy, the tight end, Breece Hall, all these guys. I mean, and the tight end's outstanding, this guy, for the Cyclones. It's very hard to defend him. Oklahoma had a matchup nightmare trying to tackle that guy the first meeting. I know they're in revenge, but Iowa State, Matt Campbell, man. How about the fact they drilled, not just beat, they drilled West Virginia 42-6 after clinching the Big 12 title game. You think this team's ready and focused right now? No letdown at all. The Texas win was a last-second win, and they come back the next week, even after clinching the title game. It really wasn't a game that meant everything to Iowa State, and they drilled West Virginia. This team's focused, and they look like they are on a mission right now. I'm on Iowa State here plus the points, and it doesn't hurt that Matt Campbell, since arriving in Ames, 5-0 against the spread against Oklahoma head-to-head. He's just had a really good time of it playing this Sooners team and gotten the better of Lincoln Riley, at least from a point spread standpoint. I think we have a close game, and I wouldn't rule out Iowa State winning. So plus 5.5, plus 6 points is the way I'm going to go with the Cyclones here. Conor, what do you like here? Oklahoma, Iowa State, Big 12 title.
I'm right with you. I've been an Iowa State backer. They've already beat them by 7 earlier this year. I get the revenge. It's not easy to beat a team twice during the season. But right now, I know Oklahoma's playing better. I've jumped on them the last few weeks, because I've been a fade on them the last few years. They have not been good against the spread. So I'm with you here. Right away, I just thought it was too much. If you're going to make Oklahoma the favorite, make them -3. I think it was too many points. This jumped up to 6. I'm taking it money line as well. I took it at 175. And I have a small little bit. This could get over the total. It did their first game, but both defenses are playing better. I think this is an under. I haven't bet it yet, and I've just thought about it a lot, but I think it's a little too close to margin to bet. But both defenses have been playing better. I'd lean under if I had to take a total.
Yeah, this one's I actually lean the over because Iowa State has a new dimension of explosiveness that they didn't have last year. Like, they're creating explosive plays on offense this year, Iowa State. I didn't see that much from them last year. I think if these two teams met last year and the total was at this number, I'd like the under. I'm a little bit more hesitant on it because Iowa State's got way more explosive offensive capabilities, in my opinion, this year than they had last year. But it is a high number, and it is a championship game. ACC championship, Clemson, Notre Dame. We've got Clemson 10-point favorites, 59.5 the total. If you like Notre Dame plus the points, I don't blame you. I actually think they might cover. But I think Clemson wins. And I don't want going against the team that I think is going to win, and the team that's in revenge, and the team here that needs the win to stay in the playoff. Notre Dame's got a path to stay in the playoff if they lose this game. Clemson doesn't. Clemson has to win this game. They got to face Trevor Lawrence, and they didn't stop DJ in the first meeting, Notre Dame. And it's worth noting, Clemson had 4 key defensive starters out in the first meeting against Notre Dame. They're all back this time for the Tigers in this game. And you want to bet against Dabo Swinney in the postseason of any kind, any game in the postseason, good luck. Because the track record of Clemson under Dabo Swinney in ACC championship games, playoff games, and bowl games combined, that's postseason games, ACC title games, bowl games, and playoff combined. For Clemson, their record, 14-3 straight up, 14-3 against the spread, and an average win margin of over 2 touchdowns in those games. That's a damning track record. That's not a track record I'm in a rush to bet against. I get it. Notre Dame has shown the ability to step up in class this year, unlike past editions of this team. I won't be on them today, though. Unfortunately, I missed 7.5 when this line opened, and I'm not taking it now at a bad number, 10.5. So I'm out of this game from a side perspective. Small on the over because, and I do think defensively this is going to be a much greater defensive game, but we saw a game get into the 70s in the first meeting, and now all of a sudden we've seen an adjustment down to the high 50s here. I think it's just been too high of an adjustment. So just only because of where the number is, I did bet a little over the total here. What do you think, C-Mac? ACC championship, Clemson, Notre Dame.
Real quick, so much for our Northwestern Ohio State. I'm seeing already 56.5s and 57s. Just bumped up a half a point right here at the last minute. Yeah, I'm with you on the over. I think it gets there. I think Lawrence is there. This one I thought about a lot. I just thought 10.5. The team's already beat him. Trevor Lawrence wasn't in there, but Notre Dame's got to feel good. I'm with you. I think Clemson wins this game, and they might win it by 13 or a little more. But I want 10 in the hook with Notre Dame, which is crazy. I'm a little crazy, I think, for doing this. I really thought about this a lot. Both teams are going to be pissed off. I think Clemson might be a little bit better defensively. It's hard to tell. I think both can score. I think Lawrence will be able to get what he wants. I think Notre Dame feels already comfortable. We played this team, with even a few injuries or not. We moved the ball well. Ian Book had one of the best games I've ever seen. Can he do that again? I don't know. He's looked pretty good. And I've even ragged him, over the years because I think he's kind of come up lame in some spots, but not that day. And I'll take Notre Dame 10 in the hook, and I'm with you. I have a play on the over as well. Right away, I thought of that 59, 60. I think they can get there here in this one. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you there, liking the over a little bit. From the side perspective, like I say, I wanted Clemson, but Missed the best number, not going to chase that number, especially in a conference championship game. I'm not going to chase after a number that's moved already like this one has. Mountain West Championship, Boise State, San Jose State in Las Vegas, Sam Boyd Stadium, the old home of the UNLV football team. Boise State, 6.5, 7-point favorites, 57.5 the total. San Jose State's been a ride-em team for me. I've been on this team so much this year. I didn't take them last week against Nevada because I had made a lot of money with Nevada as well. So it was two teams I didn't want to bet against. But prior to that, I've been riding San Jose State a lot. I'm riding them again here. I know this is another game where the team has with the greater edge in the championship game for the conference is Boise. I get it. But the San Jose State team has done a great job defensively all season. They have a great offense that is balanced. They can run it. They can throw it with Nick Starkel. Boise, to me, defensively is way more vulnerable than they've been in the past. And San Jose State has the balanced offense to keep up with them. Now, the question for San Jose State, their defense has been really good. This is probably one of the best offenses they've faced, but I do think they can hang in there in this game. And Hank Bachmeier has really at times not always been accurate. He's had some really good games and some good moments, and then there's been some lulls in this Boise State offense at times. Let's not forget the first half against Hawaii. They really had a tough time getting going in that game. So to me, this is a situation where San Jose State, especially now with it +7, I was starting to get gun shy below the key number, but +7's out there right now. San Jose State for me in this one. What do you think, C-Mac, Mountain West title?
Yeah, I haven't bet it yet, but because I still see a lot of 6.5s. But yeah, 7. I'm going to probably take it here at 7. I liked them. Hey, and a little bit last week was lucky. They flipped. They got that fumble on the 1 and just steamrolled after that. They scored. That's like a perfect in a game where Reno puts that in, and it's probably over. I mean, San Jose probably maybe comes down and it's close. But that fumble was huge. They go down and score, then they score again, and then their defense just shuts them down in the 4th, which was just great. So I think it's just too much at a touchdown. I'm with you with San Jose State, and I probably will be getting the window here soon. So,
all right, we got the AAC championship game, Tulsa, Cincinnati. Cincinnati down to 14. In this game after opening, around 15 and a half, even 16, 45 the total. I don't disagree. I think Tulsa can hang around here. Don't love it. We know Cincinnati is very, very dangerous and more explosive with Desmond Ridder at quarterback this year. I understand all of that. But I think Tulsa's defense is going to be one of the best that Cincinnati's played. Now, the one worry that I have is Tulsa. If they get behind like 17 or 21, they don't have a great offense against an elite defense to come through the back door. They got to keep this one close. I don't know, though, if they're ever in a position where they're down by that much, though, because Cincinnati hasn't played in a month. That bothers me. That really, really, really bothers me that you're playing such a big game with all this pressure on the line to complete this undefeated season and give yourself a puncher's chance, an outside shot at the playoff, even though it's unlikely, and you haven't played football in a month. That's a worry. Again, you're playing a defense that can play a little bit. I don't know if this team's going to be – and Luke Fickell, you talk about a distraction. He's being linked to a bunch of head coaching jobs elsewhere that he may be leaving. That's not something you want lurking in the background in a big game like this. I wouldn't even argue with Tulsa first half, just in case it takes – maybe the second half Cincinnati gets going. But I went full game on Tulsa 14.5. At 14 – below 14, maybe I ease back. But for now, it would be Tulsa plus points. What do you think, Conor? AAC title game.
You nailed it. I'm going to wait because if I would have got Tulsa, I would have been with you with the 14.5. And I thought about it a lot. I don't want to call Tulsa frauds. They got an unreal linebacker in Collins. Davion Collins, the guy's going to be in the NFL. I just think all year I haven't been impressed with them. They've had a bunch of kind of come from behind, great second halves, wins. I'm not impressed that much with Zach Smith. But this is a tough spot. All the pressure's on Cincinnati, but they're at home. They know they got to win this game and win it big if they want to get into this playoff, which I don't know if they will. So that's what's kept me, and I think they're the better team. But they haven't played in a month. This one's really kept me. And I thought if this gets down under 2 touchdowns, I might go with Cincinnati, and I might now. This game's tonight, so I'm just still going to wait a little bit. Maybe more money comes on Tulsa. Because I like your play with Tulsa there. I could see Cincy winning by 10 here. And I could see him playing better. Tulsa's just been so good defensively. But their wins, they lost Oklahoma State 16-7. And they had a good one against Central Florida, who wasn't very good this year defensively, but Cincy didn't cover against them. But a lot of South Florida, East Carolina, Southern Miss, kind of close games. Tulane was close. They beat Navy 19-6.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed with them, but they definitely got a defense. So when they got a defense travels. I always said, defense travels. And I like your look. This was one of the – this game is the last few days has just made me just go – I'm just back and forth. I'm like, since he needs this, you got to win it. Yeah, Tulsa's got the defense. Yeah, if and you got it. If it was 14.5, that was Tulsa's was the side. And then underneath 14, if you like Cincy, you get him now, or under 2 touchdowns if you like Cincy. So don't take Tulsa now. I wouldn't. I would have wanted that 14.5 that you got. So
very good. All right, last game, SEC championship, Alabama, Florida. How about Florida's taking some money now? Alabama's down to 16. So after all of that avalanche of Alabama money, we're finally seeing some takers in the Florida Gators here. Is it 16 and 74 the total? I think if you like Alabama, and I can't make a strong case for Florida because I don't know if they're getting stops in this game against this offense. I just don't. Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith and company. I just don't know how Florida's going to shut them down. I mean, they got the running back, they've got the quarterback, they've got the receivers. Even without Jalen Waddle, look, they've still had other receivers step up to help Devontae Smith out. I mean, it's just an explosive offense, and Florida's defense just is bad. They showed it last week against LSU. But it is a lot of points to lay. I think the best option is Alabama first half, and maybe their team total in the first half because that you would expect them, as they've always done, to be at their best early in the game, try to put their foot down, get a lead, get a margin, and then maybe coast from there. However, I think Florida can do some damage here. The question is, can they do enough damage to cover for the full game is the question. But Alabama's secondary is the one area of their defense that's a little questionable. Their up front linebackers good, but their secondary hasn't been tested a lot. When they have, A&M and Ole Miss are probably the best passing offenses they've faced, and they gave up 20 and into the 30s in those 2 games. And this is an offense passing-wise that's even better than those 2 teams with Kyle Trask and company. This is one of those high totals that I went with over the total, even at 74. Like this, to me, 52-28, I could see it. That, to me, is a 52-31 even. Like, I could see that as well as a final score in this game. Won't be a weather issue. I could see high 70s. I could even see 52-31, which would get you into the 80s in this game, because I think Alabama is good for 45, 48 points minimum in this game against Florida. And then Florida can take care of the rest for you. So I will look to Alabama first half in some form, and I'll look to the full game over. I don't want anything to do with the full game spread because I think that could be dicey one way or the other. But I'll go Alabama first half and their team total over first half, and I'll also go 74 over that total for the full game as well. C-Mac, what are you doing, and how are you attacking this Alabama-Florida SEC title game?
I'm with you. I'm on the first half here, and even team total you brought up would be good to look at. I have Bama still a full game as long as I liked it under 17, which I got it earlier. And the buyback now, you can get it now because it was all the way up to 17 and a half. Trask is the key. It's Bama's defense. They've played a lot better lately. Those early games where they gave up to Ole Miss, these last 3 or 4 weeks, they've looked better. And I don't think they hold down Trask. I mean, like you said, I think they get 28. So it's got to be crazy. It's 74, but the games later tonight, I think I'm going to make a ticket on the over as well. I haven't yet, but just leaning this side because I think Alabama can do whatever they want. If LSU and these teams lately have scored on Florida, you know what I mean? Vanderbilt got 17, come on.
Yeah.
So Mac Jones, I think they roll. So I'm all on Bama, and I'm probably going to make a play on the over, which I rarely do with a number like this. But I think they get enough of theirs in this. So I'm with you first half, and I have some full game, and I'm probably going to go with the over. So I'm with you.
All right, there you go. Alabama first half and the full game over. Before we get to best bets, let's talk briefly about college basketball, and especially Gonzaga, Iowa, because that's tipping off. That's the game of the day in a few minutes. Yeah. C-Mac, anything in that game? At 169, I bet small on I had to at the over at 169 because you got number 1 and number 2 in offense. These teams just set fire to the basket with their shooting ability and their offensive efficiency and explosiveness. Both teams play lightning fast pace-wise. As long as both teams get to 84, you're going to cash the ticket because or 85, I should say, you can cash the ticket. And I think that can happen here in this game. The side's tough. I think Gonzaga is better than Iowa. I wanted to back Gonzaga, but 4.5 on a neutral court in an early game on the body clock for Gonzaga, a West Coast team, just not the bargain I was hoping for. So for me, just a small bet on the over. But anything for the Gonzaga-Iowa showdown coming up in college hoops?
I have a small play on the over because there's no way I can take the under. And I was just looking at this. They at least get to 80 apiece, at least. And I think they get more, like you said, 85. So you're right there. There's your over. I mean, I didn't put a lot on that, but I wanted 5, but I took 4.5 with Iowa. And I might get bit here. I just like the way they're playing with Garza. And they got a ton of role players that are scoring the ball right now. And Gonzaga's the best in the country all the way around. You know, their whole team-wise. You know, the way they can score inside and out. Great tempo. It was tough. If this was I was thinking if this was 2, it'd be Gonzaga. The neutral court, it was what kind of swung me. I wanted 5. 5, but I got 4.5. I went with Iowa. I had to play on that.
Yeah, it looks
see if
like
they can step up. This should be really good early. I can't wait to see it. So Gonzaga hasn't played in a while. Real quick, they haven't played 2 weeks,
that's right.
10 days, something.
That's one of the longest layoffs of any team this season, to be honest with you. Is Gonzaga. I think 20 days since they've played. So how sharp? And I like overs with teams that haven't played in a while. The games have trended more to the over on teams that haven't played in a while. Robert, I had to look it up because he said there's people out for Northwest. Yeah, there are. I'm looking at it. Couple starters. I don't think as much impact starters as Ohio State. We'll find out.
Ohio State's got a lot out too.
But Ohio State's got, one of their best receivers out, the key starting linebacker. Yeah, Northwestern's missing a few as well, but not to the level of impact starters that Ohio State is going to be without today. But that's still not matter because, again, if you're Ohio State, you're replacing a 5-star starter with a 5-star backup, or 4-star backup. So, you're putting a good player in there regardless of, listen to the show, Sebastian. I mean, and go back and watch the replay. We covered all the games. We're going to get off the air now because things are about to start. But we mentioned the Oregon State game, and we do lean Oregon State plus.
Real quick. What are your real quick on the NFL? Just real quick, you want to touch on those real fast?
I'm on the over in both games.
Okay.
Buffalo, Denver secondary is just without Bryce Callahan and AJ Boye. There's absolutely no reason Josh Allen and the way the Bills are throwing the ball right now, they should pick that unit apart today. I think the focus should be. I know a lot of people love the letdown spot for Buffalo because they played Monday night, Sunday night football. I don't know if there's a letdown when you're trying to clinch the division, though. I really don't. They can clinch the division if they win today. And if they're even the least bit focused in the game, then they're better than Denver. But I didn't lay it with Buffalo because I am a little bit concerned, but they're still so much better than Denver. I do think Drew Lock and the Broncos can move the ball a little bit too, though. I really do because we saw them play a lot better last week against Carolina. Even against Kansas City, they moved the ball at times. Yeah. So I think that game goes over, and I certainly think Carolina-Denver gets up and over the total. Carolina-Green Bay gets up and over the total as well. Carolina's defense is awful. I don't see how they shut down Rodgers and the passing attack, or Jones and Williams, the 2 running backs. I think they can do whatever they want against Carolina. But Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers, I think they can do some damage too. I like their offense. Green Bay's defense is still a little bit leaky, especially against the run. High total, but again, we saw Green Bay 55 points last week. They've gotten into the 50s a lot this season. Carolina has as well lately with a bad defense. So I think we see shootouts, high-scoring affairs in both NFL games today. From a side perspective, I'm leaning to the dogs, Carolina and Denver slightly, but not likely to bet them. I'm more interested in Carolina than Denver.
Yeah, I'm on
it. Green Bay now all of a sudden, and Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers have been amazing as underdogs. ATS 7-1 as a dog the last 8. But Green Bay's got renewed focus and enthusiasm for this game and every game moving forward now that after New Orleans lost last week, because they can get the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I think for the Packers, that matters because so many years they've played on the road in the playoffs. They haven't played a lot of home playoff games. They've got that chance now, and to even maybe win the number 1 seed, that matters. So I don't know if they ease off the gas pedal tonight against Carolina. So my strongest stances on those 2 games, CMAC, for sure, are the over in both the NFL games today.
Okay, I'm on the Panthers 8.5. Just think it's way too many. I'm with you on the over there. I thought it was kind of good. You got under that 52, 51.5. 52 is kind of a key number. I like it. And I'm with you. I haven't done it yet, but I like the over a little bit in Bills Broncos. Not as much. I lean Broncos, but it's kind of a Broncos spot at home. I think the Bills are better, but that's kind of in the NFL. I'd rather take the points of me laying it on the road, with the Bills. So I don't know if I'll get there. And here, let me hit the sponsors real quick. Go to mybookie.com, MyBookieAG, hit promo code PubSports, and 50% deposit if you use credit or debit, and 100% if you use Bitcoin, up to $1,000. Go there, mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports, and go to Wolf Spreads. It's super fun. NFL, pick the games. You get 2K, kind of funny money. It's super fun. Put Pub Sports Battle Royale, and you love it. And you'll get a bunch of merch. If you end up winning for the week, like I said, you could take one game, a big dog that could get you there, or take a few games, go through it. It's a lot of fun. So download the app, Wolf Spreads. It's super fun. You'll love it. And real quick, my best bet. I like Northwestern, but I'm gonna stick with Iowa State, getting the 5.5. And like I said, I took it money line. I know it's tough to beat a team twice, but I'm gonna stick with it. So Iowa State plus 5.5. Right. You could even get 6 out there. So.
All right, Iowa State plus 5.5 for Connor's best bet, and I'm going to give you one in each sport, college basketball as well. I like doing that on Saturdays. For college basketball best bet, I am going to take the team that I really think is going to be a moneymaker for me all season. They've played a light schedule. They haven't played a ton of games yet. They had some earlier disruptions because of COVID-19, but they're back on the court today. It's the Niko Medved Colorado State Rams out of the Mountain West. They're getting 5.5 against St. Mary's. I've been fading St. Mary's as favorites multiple times this season. Remember, took Eastern Washington against them recently. I don't think this is as good. I've said this on our previous. I know we talked about St. Mary's on a couple of our weekday college basketball shows earlier this week. I don't think this is as good as St. Mary's team. Colorado State, I think, could be up there with San Diego State, even Boise, and these top teams in the Mountain West this season. I think they could be the 3rd best team in this conference, at least. I like what I'm seeing. They had a much improved team last year. They should be even better this year. Their defense improved. They've got the scoring. They've got the backcourt. They got the inside game. Colorado State plus 5.5 against St. Mary's. That's, to me, an improved basketball team that's extremely well coached by Niko Medved, who did a great job at Drake, is doing a great job here now. Colorado State plus 5.5. That'll be my college basketball best bet.
Real quick, do you have who's out for Louisville? Because this line just went to 9. I know they were decimated, kind of.
Yeah, they've been off due to COVID. That's an issue. We'll see who's out for the Cardinals in this game, because I kind of lean to them, but
just too, up to 9.
Yeah, just a lot of issues. Let me just see if I can quickly get some updates on that. I'll bring up my
bring it up here. I'll give you mine real quick. I liked it last night.
Is out. Josh Nickelberry is out. Those are the 2 big ones. I think those are the 2 main ones that are out today and they're 2 of the starting 5 for sure. That's going to hurt. But I think a lot of it too is the fact Louisville hasn't played in a while, and teams that haven't played in a while, the betting markets are betting against those teams pretty routinely this year in college basketball.
I agree with you. I think the number's good there, though. I mean, I still would take 9 with Louisville. This is one I liked last night. I'll just keep it. I was going to give you a morning one, but I'm on Eastern Washington. It's up to 10. It was 9.5. I like them a lot. I think this is a down spot, and I like the under a little bit. I think the total's a little high. I don't know if Northern Arizona can get there, which is weird to take a 10-point favorite and an under. I don't do that too much, but I don't think Northern Arizona is going to score much. I think they'll be in the 50s. high 50s. So
Yeah.
Eastern Washington, lay the 9.5, 10, and lean the under 145.
All right, there you go. Eastern Washington and the under, says Conor Mack for college basketball. He is on Iowa State plus 5.5 for his college football best bet. And I am looking at this for my bet, for my best bet. And it's not a conference title game, but it's my favorite, definitely probably my favorite side of the day. I mentioned it earlier. I'm going to go with the Stanford Cardinal plus 7 against UCLA. I think that's a game where they are right in it from start to finish and have a chance to win that game in outright fashion. UCLA team, after just a brutal loss for them. I mean, they were up the whole game and they blow it late against USC. Tough to rebound, I think. And Stanford is surging. The Cardinal are flying high, playing their best ball of the season right now. We'll go with Stanford plus 7 against UCLA for my best.
That number's high. I think that should be 3. That's why it's so much value that you're talking about. I think it should be 3. UCLA maybe 3, 2.5, 3. Love it.
Yeah. Tennessee up 7-0 already in the college football. So there you go.
There we go, Tennessee.
Shock and awe, Texas A&M. I'm telling you, A&M somehow, some way, they're a team.
They'll win. They might not cover. I think they'll win.
I always worry about them when the pressure's on. But yeah, obviously a good start there for Tennessee. All right, that'll wrap it up. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Great show. Thanks for joining us all season. We have one more college football Saturday show next week, and then we'll flip the script to college basketball in 2 weeks. The first Saturday of January. And don't forget, join us Tuesday, Wednesday this week, college basketball show. We'll try to get something started with the NBA as well with Conor, me, and Ski as well for NBA. We'll be chatting about that over the next couple of days, probably a Wednesday and Friday type deal, 2 days a week, because those are the 2 busy days when it comes to NBA, especially during the week. The Wednesday and Friday show definitely makes sense. So we'll see if we can set that up. And don't forget, speaking of Conor, Ski, and me, we'll be back with you tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, NFL closing time show, getting you ready for the Sunday NFL slate. For CMAC, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Good luck with all of your wagers in everything, college football, NFL, college basketball, and more. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Pub Sports Radio for the NFL closing time show. Have a great day. Enjoy the games, and good luck, everybody.